You're listening to Ember Weekend, your weekend recap of all things Ember. This is episode 44. I'm Chase McCarthy.
And I'm Jonathan Jackson, and we're here to keep you in the Ember Run Loop. We're broadcasting from HashRocket HQ, and today's episode is called Fastboot Has a Logo Now. We're not going to talk about Fastboot first, though. Boom.
Yeah, you got to wait till right at the end.
Yeah, right at the end. It's like we're gonna try to hold your attention until right there, and then we're gonna just drop the bomb. Fastboot, boom.
Yeah, or is that called burying the lead?
Burying the lead?
Or burying?
Burying? I don't think that's how you pronounce. It's how you spell that word.
It's like burying.
It's a strange word.
There's like a bear. You're gonna bear it.
Oh, all right, yeah.
No, what was the thing you told me about that? Like you bury the lead, but lead's not spelled the right way.
Lead is spelled L-E-D-E.
Yeah, go look that up.
Super weird.
Go learn yourself.
Go learn yourself some. So the first thing we're going to mention is a blog post by Ricardo Mendez. You probably know him more familiarly. Is that a word, Chase? Help me out here.
Yeah, sure.
With more familiarity as Locks
Colloquially?
on Slack. He's constantly there helping everyone out. Experience level is not necessarily relevant. He helps all types of people. Very experienced, super helpful. And he wrote a blog post on attrs, and I think this is basically a counter post to the 113 blog post, like on the official Ember.js blog. That basically encouraged you to use attrs. It's like, yeah, just use this .attrs. It's gonna be so simple. And apparently, there's a lot of subtlety to the usage of attrs between what were then called angle bracket components and are now called Glimmer components, and classic components, which are the standard components that you've probably been working with for a long time. And this blog post basically just outlines like kind of some rationale behind basically not using attrs unless you're using it for actions. Actions tend to be fine, but outside of use with actions, you should probably find another way. For a variety of reasons. I think, Chase, you have a better beat on this than I do. It has to do with like the bindings, right?
Yeah, I am the latest person that Locks has helped try to understand this problem, because before we covered this, I asked him to explain it to me. Because I've used this before. I've used this .attrs with classic components and never run into an issue. So I was really confused at why I'd care. And and also obviously we're using it for actions. And so I went through and I pulled up a project and I started playing around with this, and I was like, hey, everything's working fine. Like, what's the deal? And it turns out that they are subtle issues, and they're things that are like, from what I understand, if it's a binding that's getting passed down versus just like you putting a string in that place, it changes what's actually in this .attrs. So it's not always right. Like, it's not consistent with itself. It might work. You might see it working. But then later somebody changes the way they invoke your component, and all of a sudden you don't get like the actual string value you wanted that it evaluated to, because of the binding. You get some internal Ember thing that they reference. And that was left out of the post because it's obviously super complicated. It's really internal. It's changing right now anyway because of Glimmer, so there's no real point going into all of it. The real takeaway is there was a trade-off between using this .attrs to kind of maybe future-proof your component, so that when you change it to a Glimmer component, yeah, I'm already calling this .attrs, so I don't have to change anything, versus not always having consistent behavior. And so this is saying lean toward the side of doing a little bit of upgrade work. Once Glimmer components are finalized and you're using them, just go ahead and use this .get, which will do the right thing all the time.
Right. And just to briefly recap, the difference here we're talking about is the difference between properties and attrs. One being defined in your JavaScript file and one being defined at component invocation. And we're talking about how you reference those attrs, the difference between Glimmer and classic components.
Yeah, and the backing component, in the JavaScript file, you could say in the classic components, you can say this .get the name of the thing, and that would automatically proxy to the one you defined in the JavaScript, or it would get the one on the attr. New Glimmer components don't do that. So some people, including me, have started using this .attrs to do this, and thinking that this is like the way forward. I might as well kind of upgrade the syntax of these components now to prepare for Glimmer components. The problem is that there are these subtle bugs that get introduced when that happens.
Right. So definitely check this out. And at the bottom of the post, after the bulk of the meat of the post, he basically says, reach out to me on Slack if you have any more questions, which is exactly what we did. So I think it's one of those things where you should go and read it. and try to absorb as much as you can. If you have more questions, or if you have an edge case that you've noticed that has kind of perplexed you or whatever, maybe you can talk it out on Slack. Like need help or something would be really good, I think. So yeah, definitely worth the read.
This past Friday, Katie Gangler mentioned that she has now upgraded Ember Try to work with NPM packages. She mentioned this on the interview that we conducted with her, November, I want to say?
Yeah, it was a while ago. And yeah, finally there. I know how much work this was. It was had to have been a tremendous effort because NPM. anytime you really have to go into that ecosystem, I mean, there's some pain there. But Ember Try previously only allowed you to modify Bower packages, I believe, and now you're able to specify NPM. And this is actually a really good time for this. I'm assuming this is not a coincidence, obviously, but it coincides with the movement of Ember data from being a Bower package to being an add-on that is controlled via NPM. So it's really good timing. So yeah, Ember Try. It's another thing to take a look at. I know obviously the main libraries are using it extensively to ensure that they don't have breaking stuff. So it's pretty cool. I was really stoked to hear this change. It's gonna unlock some doors.
Yeah, I think in the interview we had asked her a couple other things about like what's the road ahead for Ember Try. And I actually asked her about this, and she said, "Oh, well, I'm working on getting the NPM module thing." And then I said, "Well, what about testing against different versions of Ember CLI?" And she was like, "Well, that the prerequisite for that is we have to get the NPM modules fixed." And so I was thinking maybe she was going to tackle that. But at one of our stories coming up, Tomdale asked her if there was a way that she could have Ember Try test different versions of Fastboot. So I thought that was a very interesting, maybe next path for Ember Try.
That'll be really interesting.
Yeah, a lot of work because obviously Fastboot's a moving target too, and it's a fast target. So yeah, check out Ember Try, and if you're not already using it, it's a great add-on to test your project or your add-on for support for multiple versions of Ember or Ember data.
Very cool. Yeah. This past week, Ihani Ekechukwu did a talk about an intro to Ember 2. And the things I really liked about this were, it was a very approachable talk. I really liked how the different sections of the talk were basically his own experiences. Basically, these are the reasons I like Ember. And the reason that's cool is not only because of the things I mentioned before, but it's also cool because he comes from a design background and then moved to Rails, and then from Rails to Ember. And I think that's an interesting path that is fairly uncommon. I feel like the Rails to Ember is pretty common, but designer to programmer, or designer to developer is a little unusual. So it's really great. So he had a multifaceted kind of talk where he basically said, these are the things that drew me to Ember as a designer, and these are the things that drew me to Ember as a developer, and they're different, but they're kind of cool. So one of the things he mentions were animations from the design perspective, like Liquid Fire being baked in is really important. So that was his selling point as a designer. And then as a developer, he was talking about the rendering engine and convention over configuration, build tooling, that sort of thing, not having to think about build tooling. So it was really cool. I really like it. It was very approachable talk, and I don't know, it was pretty great.
Yeah, it was a really cool talk, and like you said, I love the design aspect of it because I don't typically think of it like that. And and so showing the like design first, and like this is what I wanted, and then this is why I chose Ember. Typically, I'm like, I chose Ember. Let me make some design that fits my Ember. I think the other way around. So it's nice to see people they choose Ember because Ember does it solves the problems that they have.
Yeah, absolutely. And some of the examples he had were really pretty. Like the 3-column layout thing was an awesome example of how Ember can do things and how it keeps data and UI, like data, view state, and the URL all kind of in sync together. It was a really great example. So it looked pretty too. Right,
and that the way that 3-column thing was laying out, where you select one and the other one kind of like slides out from underneath it, and you select another one, it slides out. I was just thinking like that would totally be awesome as a file system browser. Yeah. And somebody I actually saw somebody the other day on Twitter asking about, is there a good like file system browser?
It was Sam.
For Ember. Yeah, okay, was it Sam?
Yeah, I think so. I think I saw that too.
So yeah, but that effect though is awesome. Like I love that transition.
Yeah.
And it turned out that wasn't even Liquid Fire. He had actually, coded that with just CSS.
Right.
And then he went into Liquidfire later and was talking about some more advanced animations, but that was just raw CSS.
Yeah, it was very cool. So definitely check that talk out, and let us know what you think.
So this past Thursday, Ember NYC had a new New York resident talk about Fastboot.
Hey, who is that? That's New York.
This is some new guy named Tom Dale.
Tom Dale.
Yeah, he
wears glasses, right? He's
no, he doesn't wear glasses anymore.
Oh no glasses anymore.
Contacts, yeah.
Contacts. He goes into depth at that at the very beginning of this talk. I thought that was quite funny.
Yeah, and I like the slow boot reference.
Slow boot. Oh yeah, that's true.
Yeah, because he like fractured his ankle or something, and he has a cast on. So he's like, okay, everybody make the jokes about slow boot Tom Dale now. But yeah, it was a great talk. I'm really eager to use Fastboot in some projects, and so I'm like trying to like line up ways to do this, and it's becoming so much easier now to get this to work. So I have no real excuses.
Except for some underpinnings need to be worked out for Ember Weekend, anyways.
Oh yeah, if we wanted to use it for Ember Weekend, there are some issues with I think Liquidfire. Luckily, I don't think we use any data insert element hooks, which are some things don't get fired from Fastboot intentionally though. He was talking about this like add-on authors need to go look through their add-ons and kind of test them against Fastboot to make sure that they work. And like do the correct things when they're rendered on the server. But hopefully, in the end, everybody he said something about it. He wants to handle the 99% use case. So only a small fraction of people will not just be able to add in this, this add-on and deploy and be up on Fastboot. Because there are other frameworks he mentions that do also this thing where you can render them anywhere. And so rendering on the server is not a huge problem, except for they don't deal with anything else. So there's the rest of the ecosystem around them, you have to like bake your own solutions for it.
Yeah, and that's not really approachable for people. I think that that 99%, like the focus on ease of use, is the thing that makes me most excited about Fastboot. Just because like it really is progressive enhancement for the web. Like for Ember, it's like do this, but you could do this now if you wanted to. Like if you really put your mind to it or your budget to it, I guess maybe would be a better way to say that. You could definitely get a lot of this functionality like now, but it's not really accessible unless you are really like it's a super high demand business need. So trying to make this more accessible, that's the thing that's going to make this feel great. Like you're just gonna be able to plug it in and work. And I know there was a lot of work and several minutes of the talk about deployment being the hardest part, and they've been working with the Ember CLI deploy team to try to make that a little more streamlined. I don't remember who the sponsors are that's sponsoring the work on Fastboot right now, but it's definitely pretty awesome. I'm really excited to see where this goes. And the thing that we really have to mention, because it's the name of the episode, it has a logo. Apparently, Tom Dale spent more time building the logo than he did on the talk he gave for NYC. So I don't know if that's good for the logo and bad for the meetup, or bad for them. Yeah. Anyways, but yeah, the logo looks great. We're probably gonna reference it in the show notes because it's super cool. I like it. It's a little rocket ship. It's cool.
Something else I learned the other day from Tom Dale was that they're trying to make it so that you can have multiple Fastboot servers running on a cluster so that you have like faster response. Although I don't know how necessary that would be because like the node server should be able to render multiple clients. But he did mention that a cluster of Fastboot servers is called a Stampede.
I thought it was gonna be Fast Beats.
Fast Beats.
Fast Beats. It could go either way. No, Stampede's probably better.
Should call them Das Boots.
Das Boots. There you go. That's a terrible.
You do like the old DOS logo.
It's such a bad rep. Anyways, Fastboot's really exciting. I think he did a really good job of explaining the reason for the pain around the splitting of instance initializers versus regular initializers and why that's necessary. And it's basically to make your app allowed to like save a lot of time and make your app be able to handle concurrent requests, or Fastboot be able to handle concurrent requests. So it boots up the main app one time, and then anytime a request comes in, an application instance is made that can handle the stuff, and those are sandboxed such that they can do all the work they need to do and send back the response without interfering with another request coming in. So that was really cool. There was a cool diagram. I don't know why diagrams help so much, but every once in a while I'll catch one and be like, oh, that makes
now I get it.
Yeah, now I get it. That makes sense. So yeah, it's really cool. Definitely check this out. We're going to talk about one more talk from Ember NYC, but really, anytime NYC puts a video up, you should probably tune in because it's some great content. Luke does a really good job of organizing that, along with all the people who help there. So, yeah, definitely check it out.
Yeah, also, if you're looking for a job in the Ember space, it's also a good meetup to watch because at the beginning of it, there's always like 7 companies coming up saying, we're looking for Ember devs.
Yeah,
so.
Yeah. That's pretty cool. Yeah, that's definitely pretty cool to see the ecosystem growing in that way. It's pretty awesome.
Yeah. So one of the other things that was talked about at this Ember NYC meetup that we've discussed in a past episode is what is now called Ember Concurrency by Alex Machnier. This is formerly Ember CSP. Do you remember what that stands for?
Sequence something procedure. I don't know. It's Go routines.
Yeah, it was something.
That's much easier to remember. I feel like
it was something much more specific, and now it's something much more general.
Yeah, and I think the reason for that is that there's it's going to encompass more than just what CSPs were for. So It's going to be more than that. And last time we talked about it, it was just a twiddle, and it was very much a spike that Alex put together. But this time, it seems like he pulled it onto an add-on, and he was able to get a few examples together that were pretty cool. And he's using function generators instead of async await. So the function star syntax is finally going to have to enter my repertoire, if you will say. So that's pretty cool. And like in it, he really explains like the reasons why you might want to use something like this, and a lot of it has to do with cancelable async behavior and a few use cases that are really great. I want to say it was Ghost that he did one of the examples in. Was it Ghost?
Yeah. He mentions the Ghost blog, which is a blog where the front end is written in Ember. So he mentions that blog as an example.
So yeah. Anyways, this was one of the things we wanted to bring it back up again because this is if you were interested in the twiddle that we mentioned a few episodes back, this is a really good entry point to kind of start exploring this stuff. I think it's still very alpha. He said that he was using it in his own app, so likely it's going to be moving towards a more stable release soon if he's actually using it. So I would definitely keep an eye on this. There are going to be some really cool use cases for this. So yeah, check it out. Absolutely cool.
Thanks for listening to Ember Weekend. If you'd like to follow along, visit us at emberweekend.com.
Or you can find us at Ember Weekend, all one word, on Twitter, or subscribe via RSS.
I'm Chase McCarthy.
And I'm Jonathan Jackson.
And we'll see you next weekend.